Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Coaches Roundtable. Today, we are going to be going through a fun little topic, and we're going to be talking about client red flags and green flags. So, with the red flags, these might just be things that clients are self-sabotaging themselves, that are kind of holding them back and not allowing them to progress as much as they would like during their health and fitness journey or their coaching experience. And then for the green flags, these are going to be things that are empowering tendencies that clients tend to display. So we wanted to touch on both just to give a little bit of clarity, have a fun conversation, and hopefully this provides some value for you.
I really like the idea of red and green flags because I think it's really nice to know what your coach is thinking. And I'm going to start with a green flag that I think everybody can relate to, and that is being coachable. And that is making sure that your effort is there. When you invest in a program, you hire a coach. Great, you did the first step. Now we want to let that coach help us out.
I would say one of my top favorite green flags with clients is asking as many questions because it not only allows you to learn, but allows you to get curious about things. It shows that you're invested in your journey. And then as a coach, on the coach side of things, it allows us to learn more in turn too. And it forces us to grow. It forces you to grow. And then you are able to get the most out of your journey, especially with us, with DIY Body. We really want to teach you how to do it yourself so that you have the tools and the knowledge to be able to continue crushing your goals after your coaching experience. And the best and easiest way to do that is to ask questions. And there's no such thing as a dumb question. Oftentimes clients will come to me and they'll be like, this is a stupid question. But I'm like, no, there's no such things. I want you to ask as much as possible. And I want you to have clarity about things and just have that open communication with your coach.
And asking those questions, it helps when you are in that position as a client to build confidence that you feel confident in why you are doing what you are doing, just that you understand. And I feel like when we have that comprehension and we understand the why of what we're doing, it carries over into just that energy that we're showing up with.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think a really good element to this too is also being receptive of feedback. That's really, really big one I find. And not only just that, but being able to actually apply that feedback going forward because it can feel scary when you're starting a new journey, especially if you've been stuck in your ways for a while. You really have to kind of break past that barrier if you really do want to excel and get to the next step.
Totally. And that kind of leads me into another green flag that popped up is having realistic expectations. I think
Mhm.
that is really important in your health and fitness journey. And especially when you're working with a coach, we're able to help you set those realistic expectations because maybe you don't actually know what is realistic, especially when it comes to social media, diet culture, all of those things. It's all about those quick fixes. And you will soon come to learn, if you haven't already, that slow and steady wins the race when it comes to this. So having realistic expectations is not only great from a coach's perspective, but it just makes the journey so much more enjoyable for you too when you learn to enjoy the process and just enjoy the person that you are becoming throughout it rather than just being in it just to achieve a certain goal and have it be a means to an end.
I think also part of our maturing on our health and fitness journey is having the lifestyle we want to live parallel with the goals that we have for ourselves. Because at times individuals are setting goals of really high level physiques. And what we want to take a look at is what does that lifestyle actually look like? And is that a lifestyle that we want to be living if those are the goals that we are setting?
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of another green flag of just taking ownership and accountability. That is something that takes time throughout your health and fitness journey, but rather than always blaming external factors, it's really important to look inwards with yourself and be honest about things because that's where you're going to grow the most when you take that ownership and that accountability. So that's what that reminded me of.
It takes time for reflection to also come from a neutral space as well. That when we first start getting into that personal development journey, it's hard and it's confronting and it feels so uncomfortable. But the more we practice it, we can see just how much power that there is in that, being able to reflect and be able to, stay neutral about it and look at those things that we want to improve upon as our opportunity. And the things that we're often avoiding are the things that are also going to carry over into really leveraging our progress the most.
100%.
I am going to share one of my green flags. I had a couple clients recently, longer term clients that did wrap up program. And something that I heard from many of them was that they get it now. They had the aha moment that playing the long game. And what they said was almost identical, which was wild and probably just a reflection of just the way that I coach. But their aha moments were realizing that a meal or even a week that looked different is not derailing their progress, and that this is a lifestyle and that this is a long term journey. So I really loved that they were transitioning out of program with that mindset that this is a lifestyle. And they may have come into program wanting to work towards those short term goals, but they left program with really having the vision of the long term and what they were investing in.
So we've been in the game for a while now, but just because something is a red flag doesn't mean that you automatically don't qualify as a good client. So red flags are just things that we see often in the industry that make our skin crawl a little bit. So the first red flag that comes to mind for me, I've given them their program, they've given it a couple of days, and they have maybe followed 20% of it, and they say this isn't working.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Or I guess that kind of like reminds me of like when you give a client a program and then they're wanting to do things their way. It's like, why did you seek out a coach? I guess that
Yeah.
kind of goes into like when we talked about the green flag, like being coachable. A big
Mhm.
part of that is like learning to like trust the process and give it enough time and give it enough time to like execute what your coach is giving you and let those results actually compound into tangible progress.
There's a difference between asking questions and kind of, being a bit almost confrontational and saying, well, I do it this way. No, you did it this way. Let's try it this way because what you were doing wasn't working. That's why we're here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that piece, like being coachable, is something that comes with time. When you let your coach actually take the reins, you suddenly feel the results from listening to what they said. But a kind of red flag for me as well is if I don't ever hear from you, I have to chase you down for a check in. I have to see you on your Instagram story, but you haven't messaged me back. Then you feel like there's no progress being made. Communication as adults is like the basic foundation of trust. And we all have phones in our hands. And I totally understand that life gets busy, but a simple text message goes such a long way. So
Yeah.
I agree. And ultimately, coaching is a collaboration. We both need to show up to that conversation. And I would say that that's the one thing for me that also can be like probably my top of a red flag, because ultimately I can't be there supporting, giving strategies, helping that individual navigate a time that is hard. But on the flip side, I can also understand, and it may just be part of what they're moving through in their own personal development journey, that was a default that was already there prior to coming into the program, that they're defaulting into that avoidance because that accountability piece currently feels very confronting and maybe triggering shame or guilt. So I always try and reinforce that this is a safe space. I am here to support you. Everything you're telling me, I'm receiving neutrally. And I just want to be able to be in your corner so that this time together can be productive and can be supportive.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a red flag that I might have. It might be a bit of a hot take. When
oh,
people blame everything except themselves. If you do kind of harbor a bit more of a victim mentality, and that could look like many different things, or just like, having clients say, tell me exactly what to do and I'll do it. But then they don't actually have that follow through piece with it. And that can be really challenging. Right? And I notice, sometimes people will, talk about maybe past coaches they've worked with, jobs, circumstances, right? There's always going to be some kind of like contributing element there. But at the end of the day, we need to learn how to actually live within that, or else things will never actually change. So I think that's a big one that I've noticed over the, few years for sure.
I agree. And I think if someone has worked with a lot of coaches and they come to you finally saying, all these coaches sucked, they didn't do anything right for me. So that's why I've come to you. Someone's not willing to look inward and say, hey, maybe I'm actually the problem. There are some pretty trash online coaches out there. I'll be the
Oh, yeah.
first to say biggest red flag is that other people pretend to be an online coach and they have zero credentials. I think anybody can slap that on their Instagram bio nowadays. Online coach red flag, make sure you do your research and you can see their freaking client results. But yeah, I think if someone's been working from coach to coach, that's a red flag for me.
Yeah, I think the coach hopping is a big one. I actually had a conversation with someone recently and they were like talking, like asking me about my coach. And they were like, how did you know that they were like the right coach for you or whatever? And I'm like, I gave them enough time. That's the biggest thing is like, yeah, there's going to be like when you start out with a coach, if you have like, you should look into if you guys have like the same philosophy and like you guys vibe and whatnot. But like, I didn't know right off the bat that that was like going to be the best coach for me. Like I trusted him. But over time, I've given him the chance to be able to understand my body and like collect data and have like a good relationship with each other. And now I'm like, hey, this is like the best coaching experience. And I've gotten so much more out of it. So I think that, yeah, the coach hopping is a big one. And you need to be able to give your coach enough time because at the end of the day, as coaches, we're just working off of like data and how your body is responding. And it's also a relationship, like we've talked about many times, built on communication. And that takes time to foster. So if you're really wanting to take your physique and your goals to the next level beyond like one cut, you really need to make sure that you are giving your coach and you enough time to collect data, understand yourself, and also just to grow and understand like like where you are defaulting on, what you are excelling on, and just allowing that relationship to flourish. Do you have any more other red flags?
I do actually. I'm kind of thinking about a couple, and I'm just thinking like when it comes down to especially the check-in process or when I'm reaching out directly to a client and checking in, especially if I know they've been struggling with something or just as a whole, just overall dishonesty. I think when I'm really kind of extending, trying to help somebody, and going above and beyond, give me all of branch, and maybe they're withholding information or just key details that I need to help them, that can be definitely a bit of a red flag. And I know that it doesn't always come from a place of ill intent. Sometimes a lot of that can come down to like maybe a bit of shame, maybe they're just really struggling. But I think the dishonesty piece is a really big one because, we want to help you. We didn't get into this industry to make your life harder.
Totally.
Yeah. And, we're going to be honest with you. Absolutely. Because, we need that honesty, but we need that honesty in return as well. So that's one I thought of.
I have one too. I'm not sending form check videos.
Oh.
I would say that's a big red flag for me, like especially with my like longer term clients who, we've done an initial cut, we did a reverse diet, and now we're really wanting to like build muscle. You can be doing like everything right when it comes to your nutrition and your habits and all of that. But if you are not like training properly, and I don't mean just like good form, but like, yeah, training intensity and learning how to push yourself, you're only cheating yourself. Even for myself throughout my coaching journey, I thought I knew how to train. I was a trainer myself. But then when I started working with my coach and sending consistent form check videos, and he would call me out and be like, you can lift heavier, or you stopped way more, or like way before you reached muscle failure. Like that's how I learned how to truly train and get the most out of my program and just get to my goals. So I know they can be a little bit uncomfortable, especially if they're new for you. But at the end of the day, it's just you seeking out feedback, getting the most out of your program, and learning how to truly train because training is a skill set. So don't cheat yourself if you're really wanting to progress in the gym and with your physique.
And my last red flag is somebody who's applied to work with me, really being interested, and then they just quit on themselves before they even take the plunge. I think that would be my like last red flag. If you're serious about something, I want you to make that leap. Let us know if we missed some, honestly.
Maybe just the all or nothing mentality. I think that that's something that probably all of us have struggled with at some point in time, but I always just try and like help my clients rationalize and be like we talked about, like that one meal, it's not going to make or break anything. That one missed workout, just like if you flip the narrative, that one perfect meal isn't going to make someone an incredibly fit person. I'm sure that all of us on this call, like we have never been perfect. Even with our bodybuilding preps, I can attest that like I have not been 100% perfect, but like consistency is what's going to allow you to progress. So don't use perfectionism as a cop out.
And red flags doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. We all have things that we're improving upon. But if any of these kind of like sparked for you of like, ooh, that may be me, what that is a reflection of is areas that you may be getting in your own way. And I can say I've gotten in my own way. I was the person that was afraid to take the plunge. And part of that was even just investing in myself in the season of life I was in. I was a caregiver, I was raising my kids, and it felt really hard to make that investment in myself. But that also carries in energy in it. And
Mhm.
that really is kind of the start of change, the start of, your journey, and really is such a catalyst for growth. If you do have something that's coming up for you, being able to move through that versus avoiding it, that is a catalyst for growth.
Yeah, allow yourself to be vulnerable.
And uncomfortable. Man, it's growth uncomfortable.
Yes.
And expecting it to be comfortable. Maybe you're comparing to somebody you've seen online, or your friend did the program and it just was lickety split for them. I think just being able to know that it's your journey and take it as aggressively or slowly as you want. Just make sure your expectations align with what you're willing to do. So let us know if you liked this episode, you guys. See you next time.